let's start, Alena, with the feminine intelligence, because I think that a lot of men would look at that and go, well, that's not for me. But from what I understand, it might well be for them.
Absolutely. So, feminine intelligence is a great place to start, is a very welcoming topic. And it is really about finding wholeness. And it is about balancing the masculine and the feminine energy within each of us, regardless of our gender. And this is a concept really that started with Carl Jung, who talked about individuation. And we cannot find our joy, our purpose, and self actualize unless we are whole and reach this idea of individuation. And that means that for women, we need to understand our feminine side, of course, but also be able to tap into the masculine. And for men as well, and this is really important, is that it's very important to be able to tap into feminine energy. So I'll dive right in here because I think this is really important. Is we throw around this idea of the patriarchy a lot, and there's political patriarchy, which is about the oppression of women, and that's one thing. But then there's psychological patriarchy, and I think a lot of men have really suffered under psychological patriarchy because they have been conditioned from a very young age to believe that showing emotion, showing vulnerability, tapping into, their intuition, even their creativity is somehow not masculine. And that is for women. And as a psychologist and as someone who has worked with extremely successful business leaders who have been actually predominantly men, equally men and women, I would say, but many, many very successful men, I find that they're often missing a part of themselves. They're often not able to tap into, like their emotional side, and that impacts their relationships very heavily. That also impacts their business leadership. That impacts their ability to tap into joy and awe and authenticity. And so when I say, for men to tap into their feminine intelligence, it is by no means saying anything around being like effeminate, or I guess people used to use like weird terms back in the day, like metrosexual. I don't think I've heard that one for a while. But it's none of those things. It has nothing to do with an outward perception of kind of femininity that I can completely understand why many men would not want to be associated with, and that's totally fine.